And Congressman Scott Garrett of New Jersey joins us for our final segment on this Friday the 13th. Thanks for being here.
It's good to be with you. Thank you.
Wall Street Journal big headlines. Stakes rise on debt vote. House Republicans increasingly question the urgency of the August deadline. Where are you on this debt limit debate?
Well, realizing that it is a urgent matter that we need to address. We were just with the Secretary, matter of fact, yesterday, realizing that it's coming up. Today's what, 9, 10, 11, 12, today's the 13th, right?
Yes.
So it's coming up within the week or so as far as the actual date when he first said we're going to hit it, and then the flexible time that he says between May of next week until sometime maybe in August, actually, when we actually have to come to grips with the issue. So that means that it's in the hands of Congress right now to begin to address the issue. But actually, when I say that, it's also in the hands of the administration at the end of the day, too, because they are the ones who ultimately are responsible for making sure that we're able to pay all our bills.
So what's the bottom line for you with regarding this decision?
Well, is that that on the one hand, it is true that we do not want to renege on the obligations of the United States government, renege on the debts, because we've never done that in the history of the country, and that would be bad for the economy of the United States and bad for the economy of the world, probably. But on the other hand, it would be just as bad if we continue on the spending spree that we have been on for the last several years and also the last decades as well, and not try to address that. It would be just as bad for the economy if we just continue on the arc that we are in a spending uptick that we have been over years, and not try to rein that in. Not try to do exactly what you and I do, everybody else does, and that is, live within our means, live within a balanced budget.
Since the Ryan budget was passed, we've seen more and more stories in the newspaper reporting that members of your conference, particularly some of the freshmen, are concerned about tackling the big Medicare overhaul that it proposes now.
You have to tackle the entitlements. Now, Paul's plan does that, and it does it in a way that does not affect benefits for senior citizens, someone who's getting it today, nor does it affect benefits for somebody who is, like 55 years of age or older as well. So I think the majority of the freshmen would say, yeah, we need to begin to tackle those things, and you can't push that off into the future. One last thought on that is, I remember Harry Reid saying, with regard to Social Security, he said, yeah, I want to tackle Social Security. I just don't want to do it for 20 years. But if you look at the actuarial tables, by 20 years, Social Security will be basically out of money as we know it. That if things are not changed at some point in time with regard to Social Security, that the benefits, that the money will simply not be there in the program to pay current and future retirees. And so that something needs to be done to fix the system now. Not to cut your benefits, not to change your benefits, not to do anything with regard to your system for Social Security, but to make sure that for future retirees, people like me, I don't get Social Security yet. I'm under 55, and so for future retirees, the changes are made.
Mr. Garrett, I'd like to have you put your hat on as the chairman of the Financial Markets, Capital Markets Subcommittee, and address specifically the market reaction, the faith of the creditors of the United States.
Treasury Secretary has the authority to continue to pay the interest on the debt regardless of what Congress does. There was just a good piece in the Wall Street Journal just yesterday, I think it was, which addresses the constitutional obligation to pay this. So we've spoken to people from past administrations that says the Treasury Secretary has that authority to do so. And we know that there is sufficient money coming in, because money comes in every day in revenue, to at least pay for the debt obligation, interest obligations every month, plus some additional monies as well. I think the markets are pretty intelligent with regard to this. They know that Congress needs to grapple with this, and they know that Congress and the White House will. But the markets are also looking for us to put the federal budget on a sustainable path as well. Because I think if the Fed chairman was sitting with us right now, he would agree that we need to not only grapple with the debt limit, but we need to grapple with the fact that we are just spending more money than we're taking in. We're borrowing some like 42 cents on every dollar, that you could take just about all the money that we do take in right now, just pay for our debt and our entitlements and our transfer payments, and we wouldn't have any money for anything else.
I just wanted to say that the debt limit needs to, if it needs to be expanded, it needs to also extreme cuts in spending, because this debt limit is not sustainable.
You and I have to live our lives under a budget. You and I have to realize that we can't spend more than we take in, as much as we might like to, as much as we want to use our credit card and run them up. We can't, because we know that there's a day of reckoning coming at some point in time, that you have to pay that credit card. And, well, that's where the federal government has been, unfortunately, on the wrong path for years. Quite candidly, under both parties and under both administrations, spending more than we have. And that's why those charts you were just showing demonstrate that. But now we've come to that day of reckoning. Now we've come to the point where the debt amount is just so high, and the interest that we're paying on the debt is just going through the roof, and we just can't do it anymore. And simply to saying that, well, what we're going to do is just raise the amount that we can borrow is not the answer. So most people who sit around the table agree that we need to address that issue and eventually raise the debt limit at some point. But what do you get to address the issue of spending? And what we would suggest is you need to cut, cap, and balance. Cut, cap, and balance. And what does that mean? To Jim's point, you need to make significant cuts right now in the 2012 budget, which is what we affect. Secondly, you need to cap. You need to put a statutory cap in place to say that, hey, going forward, there's going to be a law on the books that says you have to live within your means, right? So you want to cap it. And the third point is balance. Let's pass what some of our founding fathers envisioned over 200 years ago, a balanced budget amendment to the U.S. Constitution, so that it doesn't matter who's in Congress, Republicans or Democrats or independents or what have you, that the Constitution would put in place a provision that says you have to have a balanced budget. If a bill came to the floor this afternoon to simply raise the debt limit without any other provisions to it, there's a number of people who would say vote no. I would vote no. We need to put our fiscal house in order, and that's why I said before we need to cut spending now significantly, we need to put caps on place, we need to balance the budget. So it's not a done deal, and if you are concerned about this, you should be talking to your member of Congress in your district and saying, don't just raise the debt limit, put in a system in place that will put us in a path to actually balancing the budget in the federal government.